The sound of fluorescent lights hummed above as Dr. Amy Morales adjusted her ID badge and stepped into Observation Room 2. Behind the one-way glass, he sat perfectly still. Subject 13. No name. No age listed. No background. The file was thinner than any she'd received before. Only this. Subject ID 13. Status unresponsive, nonverbal. Protocol, cognitive reconnection, Phase 2R. Access level, level 5. Override only. Amy watched the man through the glass. Male. Late 30s, maybe early 40s. Shaved head. Slender build. Neutral facial expression. His hands rested on his lap, palms up, as if he'd been waiting. He hadn't moved for hours. Her fingers tightened around the folder. There was no reason he should know her name. But when she first walked by the secure wing that morning, he had, softly, without looking up, said, Amy. 10:43 a.m. Initial briefing. The conference room was a concrete shell, lit like a morgue. Dr. Howard Lins stood at the head of the table, flanked by 2 guards. He tapped on a clipboard and slid it across the table to her. You've been assigned full psychological authority over Subject 13. The board believes his condition requires precision and containment. Amy flipped through the pages. Most were blacked out. She looked up. Where is he from? That's not your concern. How was he admitted? You're asking the wrong questions. Amy narrowed her eyes. If I'm expected to reassemble a shattered mind, I need to know what broke it. Lins finally looked at her. You're not here to cure him, Dr. Morales. You're here to extract what's left. 11:12 a.m. Session Room 4. The room was white, bare, and silent. 2 chairs. A reinforced table. A ceiling-mounted cognitive resonance scanner suspended above like a steel halo. Subject 13 was already seated. Amy entered slowly, notebook in hand, and sat across from him. Hello, my name is Dr. Morales. I'm here to talk with you. He didn't blink, didn't move. Do you remember anything? Your name, your past, where you're from? Nothing. She pressed a button beneath the table. The overhead scanner buzzed softly, initializing a passive neural read. He leaned forward. What do you see right now? He closed his eyes and spoke. One word. Fire. Amy's pulse quickened. It was the first vocalization on record. What kind of fire? Can you describe it? His eyes opened. You were there. Amy froze. What? The fire. The hallway. You were wearing white. She swallowed. That was impossible. She'd never filed any trauma related to fire. Never discussed it with the program. But she had been near one. Years ago, in Sarajevo. A field hospital. She'd never mentioned it, never logged it, never. She stood abruptly. We'll stop here for today. He didn't respond. But as she reached the door, he said softly, You ran, but not fast enough. 2:07 p.m., personal quarters. Amy shut the door to her room and pulled a dusty journal from the back of her drawer. Inside, between old sketches and taped-down clippings, was a photo. Bosnia. She was in the background, barely visible. Smoke, fire, ash on her coat. No copies existed. No record in any database. This journal had never left her apartment. She checked the binding. Page 14. Missing. She hadn't removed it. 4:30 p.m. Internal surveillance review. Amy used her clearance to access footage from the secure wing. 3 days prior, she watched Subject 13, isolated in his cell. Hours of motionlessness. Then, at 2:03 a.m., he stirred. He turned his head toward the corner of the room, no camera, no speaker, and whispered, She forgot Sarajevo. Then he closed his eyes. 7:55 p.m. Emergency meeting with Dr. Linz. Amy threw the file on the table. He referenced memories I've never disclosed. Private, unrecorded, not part of any psych profile. Linz looked calm. That's not unusual in trauma pairing. He wasn't guessing. He knew, intimately. Then perhaps your mind isn't as closed as you think. Amy's voice dropped, exactly as two are. Linz didn't answer. Instead, he folded his hands. You're being monitored too, Dr. Morales. Be careful what you choose to remember. 10:11 p.m. Surveillance breach. Back in her quarters, Amy received a message on her private terminal. No sender, no trace. Only one line of text. You weren't his first doctor. Attached was a video file. Session 13 audio only.mp4. She hit play. In the background, a familiar voice, her voice, was giving instructions. Activate second layer. Proceed with mirror scripting. Then, subject 13 screaming. I don't want hers. I want mine back. End of file. Final scene. Observation room. Amy stood in the dark, watching him sleep behind the glass. She could hear his breathing through the speaker feed. Steady. Calm. But she didn't feel calm. She felt cracked. The man in that room knew things no one else could know. Things she had forgotten, or had been made to forget. As she turned to leave, his eyes opened, and without looking at her, he whispered, Page 14. March 6th, 1999. Facility 17, Neural Stimulation Unit. The machine buzzed with low, ambient pulses as the resonance arc aligned over Subject 13's head. Amy stood behind the control terminal, hands still, eyes sharp. She hadn't slept. Page 14 was still missing from her journal. She hadn't misplaced it. She would never have. The memory of that day was vague now. That photo, the screaming, the smell of ash. But 13 remembered it. And the voice on that audio file, her own, giving him instructions? She hadn't authorized any prior sessions. Officially, she hadn't even met him before yesterday. So how had he met her? 10:41 a.m. Session 2. Amy sat opposite him again, this time without her notebook. Let's talk about the fire, she said. His eyes didn't move. The hallway? Sarajevo. You said I was there. You were. How do you know? Because I watched you run. You watched? He nodded. You weren't supposed to see me, but you looked back. Just once. Amy's mouth went dry. She remembered that moment. That exact moment. Looking over her shoulder. Seeing something, someone, in the smoke. A silhouette. She had dismissed it as a trauma-induced hallucination. What else do you remember? The woman screaming. The broken ceiling. The boy under the table. And your red folder. Amy stared at him. That folder had been burned in that fire. She'd never told anyone. The color wasn't mentioned in any report. Her voice lowered. What was inside it? Your confession. 11:52 a.m. Dr. Lin's office. Amy slammed the printed transcript onto his desk. These are my memories. Linz barely glanced at them. Possibly. There is no way he could know this. Unless you've been exposed. To what? He sighed and leaned back in his chair. The mirror interface wasn't just designed for memory retrieval. Phase 2R introduced something more. Experimental. Which is? Memory imprinting. Amy froze. You're saying he's remembering my life? Not exactly. Mirror pairing was meant to restore fractured identities. But pairing can lead to bleed-through. He's not bleeding. He's reporting, with precision. Linz tapped his desk. This is why we isolate subjects. The mind wants to make meaning out of data. Don't give it more than it can handle. I'm not the one breaking protocol. Aren't you? 2:37 p.m. Internal Archives, Sublevel 3. Amy descended into the cold-lit archive hallway. Rows of inactive drives lined the wall like coffins. She keyed in an override and opened a private console. Access request. Phase 2R. Neural test logs. Subject 13. Access denied. She tried again, this time under her older credentials. A code she hadn't used in over a year. One she shouldn't have remembered. Override accepted. A log list appeared. Dozens of undocumented sessions, all before his arrival date. Session number 7. Date, October 10th, 1997. Technician, A. Morales. What? She clicked the audio file. Begin cognitive reconstruction. Her own voice said, I'm sorry, David. She stopped breathing. David. The name hadn't been in any file, but 13 had whispered it, softly, last night in his sleep. 3:10 p.m. Session 3 unscheduled. Amy entered the room without authorization. Subject 13 was already seated. Your name is David Marin. He looked at her slowly. You remember. You worked in Bosnia. Intelligence division, then private contractor. They erased it and replaced it with what? Nothing. Until you came back. Back? He leaned forward. They wiped you too. Amy shook her head. That's not possible. I remember. Fragments. Static. Echoes. You think it's memory. It's containment. Then what was I? He said nothing. Then he whispered. My mirror. 4:46 p.m. Amy's quarters. She tore through her journals, drawers, storage bins. Behind her bookshelf, taped inside an old biology text, she found it. Page 14. Burned edges, ash stain. A list of numbers, coordinates, and a phrase. If he remembers before you do, end the protocol. She sat on the floor, gripping the page, shaking. She hadn't written that, but it was her handwriting. 6:32 p.m. Surveillance intercept. Another anonymous message arrived on her console. We see your access logs. You have 12 hours before review protocol flags your clearance. Final scene, red room. Archived footage. Amy accessed the last log on the secret drive. Video feed. A red-lit room. Medical equipment. A man restrained in the chair. David. Her voice, off camera. We'll rebuild from the memory outward. We just need to break him one more time. He screams. You're not her. You're just the version they let live. The lights flicker. File ends. March 7th, 1999. Facility 17. Medical observation log. Number 3. Amy stood in the hallway, eyes on the security monitor. Subject 13 was pacing. He hadn't done that before. Until now, his behavior had been perfectly still, restrained, passive. But today, he walked, slow, precise loops around the perimeter of his containment cell, like a man remembering the boundaries of a room he once built himself. He was changing. No, she thought. He's waking up. And I might be, too. 11:15 a.m. Internal Access Terminal, Lab B2. Amy logged into the Personnel Records Archive using her restricted credentials. The ones no one was supposed to know still worked. She searched her own file. Nothing unusual. Education, employment, health clearances, all clean, all standard. Then she searched Anna Merrill. Result, one match. Dr. Anna E. Merrill, former associate neuroprogrammer. Project Phoenix. Status, terminated. Date of death, August 2nd, 1997. Cause, protocol failure, cognitive collapse. Amy leaned closer to the screen. Her face. Same photo used on her current badge, but the name and clearance tier were different. This wasn't a file error. This was a replacement. 2:00 p.m. Session 4. He was already waiting when she arrived. He no longer blinked slowly like before. His gaze was alert, tracking her like someone studying not a doctor, but a subject. Amy sat down without a word. He spoke first. "Do you remember the lake?" She hesitated. "What lake?" "The one in Vermont. We stood at the edge. You dropped the scanner into the water. You laughed." She blinked. A flash, a shoreline, birch trees, cold air. "I've never been to Vermont." He leaned forward. "You were, just not as Amy." She tried to speak, but no sound came. He softened. "You used to wear your hair shorter, tighter coat, always walked ahead of me." Amy looked down at her hands. "How do you know these things?" "Because we've lived them." "No, I didn't." "Because you were with me when they took it all away." Silence. "What did they take from me?" she asked. "Your voice and your guilt." 5:15 p.m. External call unauthorized. She used an encrypted line to reach Dr. Elias Brecht, a former researcher she worked with during her graduate years, before she ever heard of Facility 17. At least, she thought so. "Amy," he said after a long pause, "I didn't think I'd hear from you again." "Why?" "Because they told me you died in 97. I attended the memorial." Amy felt her breath catch. "Did we ever work together after grad school?" "No. You disappeared after that first job. Something about a government neuro contract. You said it wasn't safe to stay in touch." "Elias, was my name Amy back then?" Silence. "No," he finally said. "You were Anna. Anna Merrill." 7:42 p.m. Memory fragment number 1. That night she dreamed, or remembered, a long corridor, sterile, a glass observation chamber. Inside, Subject 13, strapped into a chair. A younger version of herself, different haircut, no badge. She's shouting, "You can't just erase someone. He remembers. He's human." Dr. Linz stands next to her. "And you've gone too far." Guards appear. She screams. Then darkness. She wakes with her hands shaking. There's blood beneath her fingernails, but no wound. 9 p.m. Private archive room. She returns to the archive past hours. No cameras, no staff. She enters Phase 2R logs again. One file sits unmarked. Video. Session 0. She plays it. Inside the red-lit chamber, 2 patients sit opposite one another. One is Subject 13. The other, her. No white coat, no clipboard. Both are wired to mirrored memory interfaces. "Cognitive mirror sync initiated," a voice says. "If either core fractures," it continues, "default to reset protocol." As the machine begins, Subject 13 speaks. "Don't let them make me forget you." The screen goes black. Final scene. Hallway. 11:58 p.m. Amy stumbles out of the archive room. Her pulse is racing. She turns a corner and finds Subject 13 standing in the hallway, out of containment. No alarms, no guards. He says only one thing: "They know you remember." And then he walks past her. Not running, walking, like he knows where he's going. March 8, 1999. Facility 17, Emergency Protocol Report, redacted. Security Incident, 872. Subject 13 left containment zone at 23:58. No physical breach detected. No alarms triggered. Surveillance footage corrupted. Subject returned to cell at 0021 without external interference. Dr. Morales listed as last authorized contact. Incident logged as sensor glitch. Amy read the report 3 times. A sensor glitch? He walked past her, calm, aware. Not confused, not delusional, deliberate. The system wasn't broken. It was cooperating with him. Or rather, with what he used to be. 10:12 a.m. Off-grid terminal. Staff lounge sublevel 1. Amy connected to a deprecated line, one that hadn't been patched into the new surveillance system yet. There, she accessed Phase 1 personnel, the original design team of Project Phoenix. 2 names stood out. Lynn's, of course, and a second. Dr. Ian Cartwright, cognitive architecture specialist. Terminated in 1996. No forwarding data, except for one strange flag. Resurfaced, civilian transfer. Pseudonym active. She copied the ID trace. The attached name? Evan Drew. 3:22 p.m. Public library downtown. Off-site, disguised access. Amy left the facility for the first time in months, under a scheduled wellness leave. She found Evan Drew in the reference wing of the city library, scanning microfiche under dim yellow lights. She approached carefully. "Dr. Cartwright?" He didn't look up. "They told me you were dead." They lied. He turned slowly. "So you've remembered something?" "Not enough." He studied her. "Then you need a back door." 4:10 p.m. The backdoor protocol. They sat at a diner booth. He spoke in low-clipped tones. Phoenix was never about healing. It was about rebuilding. Not recovering memories, but implanting them. Amy clenched her jaw. Mirror programming. Worse. Shadow stacking. We used stable minds to overwrite fractured ones. Each subject was paired with a core donor. You were his. So he remembers my life because it was given to him. Injected. Echoed. Rewritten to seem like his own. Amy's hands trembled. What happened to the real me? You resisted. Broke the protocol. Tried to get him out. So they folded your personality back into the program and buried the rest. Morales is version 3, Amy whispered. And what about Subject 13? He's the only one who kept fragments of what we tried to burn. That's why they keep him alive. Why me? Because if he fully remembers you, the original you, it collapses everything. 8:45 p.m. Facility 17, Amy's quarters. She returned with a copied data card. Inside, original Phase 1 trial footage, code books, and something labeled Key Trigger Backdoor M14. A neural file. Encrypted. It required a biometric scan. Hers. She placed her finger on the reader. It unlocked. A script played. Her own voice, dated 2 years prior. If you're hearing this, you've already begun to remember. You've seen pieces. The lake, the chair, the screaming. They won't let you leave unless you do one thing. Rebuild the original connection. The file ended. Attached, a series of auditory triggers, labeled Fragment Access Sequences. She recognized one. The phrase Subject 13 had said on day 2. You weren't supposed to see me. 11:33 p.m. Containment room. Amy sat across from Subject 13 again. Do you know who I really am? He nodded slowly. Not yet, but I remember what it felt like to lose you. She placed the earpiece into his hand, a modified stim cue loaded with the backdoor trigger. I want you to try something. Just listen. He inserted the earpiece. She activated the sequence. At first, nothing. Then, a jolt through his body. A tremor. His eyes rolled back. And final scene. Surveillance office. Remote feed. Inside a dark control room, Dr. Lin stood over a terminal, watching the feed. Beside him, a man in military uniform. She's activated the trigger, Lin said. Then initiate Protocol 0. What about Subject 13? Erase them both. We only need the data. March 9th, 1999. Facility 17, Containment Room. 2:41 a.m., his breathing slowed. The trembling stopped, and when he looked up at her, the vacant, fragmented stare was gone. He blinked twice, swallowed hard. Anna. Amy, or Anna, stepped back. He said it with certainty. Not a guess, not an echo. Recognition. You remember? Not all at once, he murmured, but enough. I remember us. She sat down slowly, heart racing. Your name is David Marin. He nodded. Voice steadying. I was a field tech for Phase 1, Bosnia. Then intake design for mirror pairs. You were my partner, in the lab, and after hours. They said I was dead, she said quietly. You were. They killed the version of you that resisted. He looked around the sterile white cell and put us in cages made of memory. 0:23 a.m. Staff lounge, sub-level 2, private feed. They watched a loop of surveillance footage on Amy's hidden terminal. David pointed to a shadow on the hallway frame, his own escape path from the night before. The doors didn't unlock for me. They recognized me. From what? Before I became Subject 13, I was Level 6 clearance. Full design access. I helped build these protocols. The doors still think I'm staff. But your records were erased. Erased on the surface. Buried underneath. He turned to her. Just like you. 11:45 a.m. Archive Room Gamma. They returned to the off-grid archive using the badge Cartwright had given her. David's presence bypassed the second biometric lock. Inside, hundreds of backup drives. Red folders, paper, analog. Anna, Amy, pulled out a file labeled PHX Core Pretest 1A Marin Merrill. Her name, his name, together. Trial documentation, memory pairing, emotional reinforcement scripting. Handwritten at the top. Muley Souls, source stable. They used our relationship, she whispered, as a control group. And when we tried to shut it down, he said, they copied us. 1:30 p.m. Cafeteria, empty, off hours. They sat at a corner table. 2 glasses of water. A silence 10 years deep. Do you remember the lake? He asked. She nodded. You dropped the scanner. On purpose. She smiled for the first time in days. Why? Because you were starting to forget things. I thought cold water would reset you. Did it work? You kissed me after, so I'd say yes. A pause. Why did you let them take me? She finally asked. I didn't, he said, pained. They got to you first. When I fought back, they called it instability. And now? Now we fight again. 4:44 p.m. System interruption detected. Back in her quarters, her console blinked red. Access override detected. Protocol 0, scheduled in 2 hours. Her breath caught. She tapped through submenus. Protocol 0, facility-wide purge, memory resets, neural blackouts, subject disposal, personnel reformatting. In 2 hours, a full wipe. David stepped behind her. They know we're awake. 5:33 p.m. Level 0, hidden transit access. Using David's old clearance codes, they accessed a maintenance tunnel hidden beneath the Phase 1 observation ring. There was a door, unlabeled, cold to the touch. Behind it, a narrow shaft downward, a freight lift. Manual. Where does this go? She asked. Below the backups, to the original servers. And maybe to the root of it. 6:01 p.m. Deep core. Facility 17. Lights flickered as they descended. The air grew colder. Older. They stepped into a forgotten chamber where dust coated ancient terminals. Analog drives spun slowly, whirring like heartbeats. This is where Phoenix was born, David said. Before the white rooms and silence. In the far corner, a glass capsule. Wires fed into a chair. A human silhouette inside. Pale. eyes closed. "What is that?" she whispered. He turned slowly. That was Subject Zero. They approached. Inside the capsule, Anna, her face motionless, sleeping. "They cloned your neural pattern," David said. "That version runs every therapeutic AI. She's not conscious, but she's the key to their system." Amy stared. "So if we shut her down, the program dies." 6:22 p.m. Final scene. Back upstairs, Linz watched the screen. 2 subjects off the grid. Protocol Zero counting down. A technician turned. "Sir, if they reach the core and disable Subject Zero, they won't." He keyed in a manual override. "Initiate lockdown and purge both memory chains." March 9th, 1999, 6:25 p.m. Deep core, sublevel -4. The chamber hummed with ancient energy. David and Anna stood before the glass capsule containing Subject Zero, a pale, unconscious figure in a neural shell that looked too much like Anna to dismiss as coincidence. She stared at her own face. But it wasn't just her face. It was her expression, frozen, dreaming, empty. "How long has she been down here?" Anna asked. "Since before the first patient," David replied. "Before you became Amy. Before we became experiments." He pulled open a control panel. "This version of you is the source of the therapeutic framework. Every command, every reset, every treatment runs through her neural loop. They cloned my consciousness? They tried. But what they built was something else. A prison? A blueprint, used to overwrite others, like me." Anna turned away from the capsule, breathing hard. "Then we shut it down." David hesitated. "If we kill the loop, everything linked to it burns. Including you? Including all of us." 6:35 p.m. Memory loop interference detected. Back upstairs, Linz watched the countdown stutter. The Protocol Zero timer froze, then flickered. 1:24:36, then 0:58:14, then blank. "We're losing sync with the primary loop," a technician warned. "Because she's inside," Linz muttered. "And she's starting to remember too much." He keyed a secondary command. "Activate counter-memory injection. Build a conflict layer." "Sir, do it. I want Anna to see what happens when she believes in a lie." 6:42 p.m. Sublevel 4, neural feedback surge. The lights dimmed. David stepped back from the capsule. Anna's vision blurred. Pain bloomed behind her eyes, not physical, but mental. Sudden flashes. She's drowning in cold water. A cabin in Vermont. Holding David's hand. Or someone else's. A gunshot. Blood. A white hallway. Dr. Linz whispering. "It wasn't your choice." She stumbled, gripping the console. David caught her. "They're injecting loops. Fake memories. They want to overwrite the truth before you reach it. How do I know what's real?" He pressed her hand to his chest. "Start here." 6:55 p.m. The mirror room. Behind the capsule, they found a secondary chamber. Labeled only, "Mirror room. Authorized access only." Inside, chairs, interfaces, old wires, data slates, and footage playing across broken monitors, looping images of Anna and David again and again in thousands of variations, smiling, crying, fighting, bleeding, begging. "They ran simulations on us," Anna whispered. "More than that," David said grimly. "They used us to build a language of control." She turned. "That voice on the protocol, it was me." "No," David said. "It was her." He pointed to the capsule. "She's the copy. You were real until they fed her everything and erased the original." Anna stepped toward the chair. "Then we take it back." 7:02 p.m. Conscious override attempt. Anna Merrill. Anna linked herself to the old interface. David protested. We don't know what it'll do. We don't have time. As the connection activated, the screens around the room blinked, then synchronized. Anna was inside the loop, and standing in front of her was herself. White coat, calm smile. The AI model. You've come far, it said gently. You're not me. I'm the part they needed. You were the part they couldn't control. Then why am I still here? Because you fought. I'm still fighting. The copy tilted its head. Then take it. The room flashed white. 7:12 p.m. Outside the mirror, Anna awoke with a gasp. The capsule was dark. Subject 0 disconnected. David held her hand, steady. Are you still you? She nodded, but there were tears. I remember everything now. The lake, the fire, the choice I made. What choice? To give them you, to save me. You were forced. No, I hesitated, and they used that. David stepped back, pain in his eyes. Then let's make a different choice now. 7:20 p.m. Control room, upper facility. Linz stood frozen, all screens blank. Sir, the mirror route has gone dark. That's not possible. Subject 0 is offline. Linz stared at the countdown. Error. She burned the mirror. He turned to his tech. Send the purge team. Full lockdown. Kill anything with a name. Final scene. Tunnel access. Sublevel exit. Anna and David moved through the narrow emergency passage. Sirens echoed in the distance. David looked back. They'll come. Anna pressed a card into his hand. Then we go where they can't follow. He read it. External access. Location. VT Lake 4. He smiled. You remembered. I rebuilt it. They disappeared into the dark. March 10th, 1999. 01:14 a.m. Facility 17, Sector Black. The first shot was silent. Dr. Howard Linz slumped against the wall, blood pooling beneath his collar. He wasn't the target. He was a loose end. The cleaners moved with surgical precision. 6 operatives in gray, faceless gear. No names, no dialogue. Just orders. Target classification. Compromised. Objective. Full erasure. Time to facility sweep. 4 o'clock. They moved fast. Erasing terminals. Burning memory drives. Clearing entire levels like data folders. Anyone with traceable contact to Subject 13 or Dr. Anna Merrill was listed for deletion. Facility 17 wasn't being secured. It was being buried. 0:23 a.m. Offsite transfer point. VT Lake 4. The lake was frozen solid. Pines loomed in all directions. A single metal shack rose out of the snow. Inside, a rusted hatch, a cracked bench, a dead generator. David forced the lock open with a crowbar. I haven't been here since the test phase. Anna followed, carrying a black case, the last physical drive from Mirror Route. How safe is this? It's not, but no one remembers it exists. Below the shack, a spiral staircase, and a cold, forgotten room. On the far wall, a dusty terminal, still humming. Anna approached it slowly. This used to store all the backups? The originals, before the simulations. She placed the drive into the port. It hissed, whirred, then opened. Phoenix, Genesis root found. Replay, restore, distribute. 3:12 a.m. Facility 17, Central Kill Zone. The cleaners had already cleared 3 wings. Technicians, analysts, trainees, all silenced. One of them paused outside Amy's quarters. No movement inside. They entered, but the room was empty. Only a single phrase painted on the mirror in red. Memory is resistance. The cleaner tilted its head, then smashed the mirror. 3:44 a.m. VT Lake 4 mirror route replay. Anna stood before the screen, watching herself from 3 years ago. Phoenix was never about healing. It was about control. Control from narrative, emotion, memory. They made us believe we were broken so they could rebuild us in their image. David sat silently beside her. You recorded this? No, the original me did, before I became Amy, before they split me. He turned. We were their test subjects. But we became their data set, their model. And now? Now we flip it. She tapped the screen. Option, distribute. 04 a.m. Final sweep authorization. In Facility 17, the last operative received the final kill order. Wipe all remaining digital evidence. Then evacuate and torch the site. But something blinked on the command screen. An override. Not from inside, but from outside. Message broadcast. Global Network Node 112. File uploaded. phxorigin.avi. Content, classified material leaked. The cleaner hesitated. Then a second message appeared. We remember. 0413 a.m. Mirror loop transmission external. Across unsecured networks, a woman's voice, a man screaming, archive footage, confessions, names, faces, coordinates, proof. The truth was out, and it couldn't be put back in. Final scene, lakeside, just before dawn. Anna and David sat beside the frozen water. No words, just breath. After a while, she asked, "What now?" He smiled faintly. "Now we stop hiding." A distant hum echoed from the trees. Drones? Vehicles? Hard to say. Anna looked at the horizon. They'll come. David stood up. Let them. March 11th, 1999, 06:12 a.m. Outside Black Ridge, Montana, civilian care facility. He was listed as patient 0001A. Name, unknown. Status, nonverbal, isolated. Admittance reason, dissociative neurological collapse. Date of arrival, July 1994. Origin, classified. Anna stared through the observation glass. He sat in the corner of the room, facing the wall, motionless. A thin man in his 60s. Pale, hollow. Is this him? She asked. David nodded. His name was Dr. Marcus Elian. He created the first neural imprint prototype. Why is he here? He ran the first successful loop using his own mind as the anchor. The system backfired, fragmented him. They kept him alive for calibration. Anna's voice was low. He remembers everything, more than any surviving document. 7:01 a.m. Session room 2. The orderlies left the room. Anna entered slowly, sat across from Elian. He didn't move. She activated a portable resonance scanner. Old tech, no digital sync, safe from interference. Dr. Elian, she said gently, I'm not here to hurt you. I just need to know what you remember. Silence. Then, without turning, you are Anna, Merrill, revision 3.1. Her breath caught. You remember me? I remember all of you. He finally looked at her, eyes unfocused, but not empty. Do you know what Phoenix really was? They told me it was cognitive therapy, then control, then replication. No, it was preservation. Anna leaned in. Preservation of what? Elian smiled, sadly. Of a dying species. 07:28 a.m. Extraction, exterior. David monitored security. 2 black vehicles, government plates, no insignia. Anna looked out the window. They found us. We need to go, now. She turned to Elian. Can you walk? He didn't answer, just stood slowly and followed her without resistance. As they reached the back exit, he murmured, They left something inside me. A failsafe. What kind? A memory that doesn't belong to me. A door. If it opens, the system comes back. David froze. We're carrying the virus. 084 a.m. Safe house outside Helena. The three of them hunkered down in an old ranger cabin with no network access. Elian paced, muttering. Numbers, phrases, loops. Anna transcribed everything. One string repeated. M root echo. ID 0 mirror. Reboot chain active. She turned to David. It's alive. The system is rebuilding itself. Without servers? Without operators. It's using Elian. David sat, hands clasped. How do we stop it? Anna's face hardened. We go inside. 8:42 a.m. Neural injection prep. Anna wired herself to the portable interface. David objected. It's unstable. You saw what happened in Mirror Room. That was to extract the truth. This is to bury it. If you go in now and it pulls you in, then you pull me out. She inserted the final plug. If I find the reboot sequence, I can isolate it. If, she looked at him, I trust my mind, even the broken parts. 9:30 a.m. Internal sequence. The garden. Anna opened her eyes and found herself somewhere else. A field. A garden. Blue sky. A white bench. A child sat there. It was her. Age 9. Holding a book. Are you here to forget again? The child asked. No, Anna said. I'm here to remember. Then end it. You tried to before, but you liked it here. Anna knelt. What's behind the bench? The child frowned. Don't open the door. If you do, we start over. That's the reboot key. Isn't it? Yes. Then I'm sorry. She reached behind the bench and pulled the lever. 09:03 a.m. Reality breach. Back in the cabin, the lights flickered. Elian screamed. David grabbed Anna's shoulders, her body convulsing. The interface beeped. Reboot path interrupted. Come on, Anna, come back. A shockwave pulsed through the system. The interface caught fire. David yanked the wires free. Anna gasped and opened her eyes. It's done, she whispered. Final scene, Memory Archive Ruins, Facility 17. 2 weeks later, Anna and David returned to the crater where Facility 17 once stood. Nothing remained, but under the ash, they found a black box, still blinking. A phrase scrolled across the screen. System error, memory disobeyed. David laughed. I guess that's our legacy. Anna took his hand. No, that's just the beginning. March 25th, 1999. Portland, Oregon. Local emergency report, number 1138A. A man walked into the hospital, claiming he remembered being strapped into a chair and force-fed someone else's life. A woman reported recurring dreams of fire, mirrors, and a name she's never heard. Anna Merrill. A child, age 6, began drawing diagrams of a facility buried underground. The sketches matched blueprints never released to the public. The Phoenix program was dead, but its echoes were not. 10:16 a.m. Safe house, outside Portland. Anna stood in front of a corkboard, covered in newspaper clippings, printouts, and red string. David approached, carrying coffee. 3 new reports this week, she said quietly. More of them remembering? She nodded. Fragments, images, names. None of these people were ever part of the program. David looked concerned. So it's spreading. Anna stared at a note pinned at the center of the board, her own handwriting. If memory is the root of identity, then sharing it rewrites reality. We didn't just destroy the system, she whispered. We released it. 2:44 p.m. University Cognitive Lab, disguised entry. Anna met with Dr. Cameron Solis, a cognitive researcher who had begun noticing strange memory convergence in test subjects. I had a patient describe being inside a chair surrounded by red light, Cameron said. Another one said the phrase mirror loop without knowing what it meant. Anna offered no explanation, but Cameron pressed. Whatever you were part of, it's leaking. How? Anna hesitated, then opened a metal case. Inside, a cube-shaped storage unit, the last surviving memory core. Because memory isn't passive, it resonates. You mean like a virus? No, like a voice looking for someone who will listen. 4:30 p.m. David's notebook. David sat alone, flipping through pages of diagrams, timelines, and sketches. He stopped on one, a mirror, two versions of Anna, and in between them, a third, a silhouette with no face. He wrote beneath it, "The system was never a machine. It was a reflection." 6:11 p.m. Emergency broadcast intercepted. A pirate radio signal broke into national frequencies for 6 minutes. The voice was Anna's, only it wasn't live. It was a loop, repeating fragments from Mirror Root. You are not broken. You were rewritten. Memory is the last form of resistance. If I disappear, remember me. Remember yourself. Then silence. 8 p.m. Motel room. Anna stared at herself in the mirror, but it flickered. For a moment, she saw the other Anna, the version in the capsule, cold, silent, perfect. Then her own reflection returned. "It's still in me," she whispered. David sat on the edge of the bed, watching her. "You stopped it." "No," she said. "I became it." "What do you mean?" She turned to him. "It's using me to survive. Every time I speak, someone hears it. Every time I remember, someone else begins to. Then what do we do?" She looked down. "I have to shut it down completely." "How?" Her voice broke. "By erasing the last living version. Yourself." 10:32 p.m. Remote Memory Isolation Unit, Hidden Lab. They connected Anna to a final generation memory wiper, designed to eliminate identity cores. David set the parameters. Anna held his hand. "Will you remember me?" she asked. "Every second." "Promise me you won't rebuild it." "Not ever." She smiled. "Then let me go." He activated the sequence. Final scene, post-protocol recording. David sits before a camera, his voice calm, steady. Her name was Anna Merrill. She saved us from the thing we made of her. She wasn't a ghost, or a machine, or a symptom. She was a person who chose truth over memory. And I will carry that truth forward, not to control, but to remember. April 17th, 2004, 5 years later. Northern California, Learning Clinic, Level B. The boy was 12. He sat quietly, pencil moving across paper, drawing what looked like a chair. But not a school chair. A neural interface. Dr. Cameron Solis watched from behind mirrored glass. The clinic had no official connection to Facility 17. It couldn't. That place no longer existed. Yet the child spoke of things no 12-year-old should know. He said her name was Anna. The boy had whispered one night. She was trapped in a mirror and had to break herself to escape. "Did someone tell you that story?" Cameron had asked. He shook his head. "I think I used to be someone else." 11:32 a.m. Cambridge University, guest lecture. David Marin stood before a class of 20, now calling himself Daniel Morrow. He lectured on identity theory and memory plasticity. "We used to think memory was a vault, a sealed history. But the truth is, memory is a living network. When two people share it, it changes both." A student raised her hand. "What happens when memory spreads too far?" David smiled. "Then it becomes a story. And stories, unlike systems, can't be controlled." 2 p.m. Personal archive. Secure storage. David opened a safe beneath the floor of his office. Inside, a black cube. Not connected to anything. Untouched since that night in the mountains. The last remaining fragment of Anna. He hadn't played it since the wipe. But today, something told him it was time. He inserted the core into an offline terminal. A face appeared. Hers. No neural loops. No glitching. Just a static video file. Anna. Smiling. Real. If you're watching this, it means the world didn't end. Good. Then remember this much. You don't need me to finish this. You just need to know I was real. That we were real. That memory isn't a trap. It's a trail. And you get to choose where it leads. Don't be afraid of forgetting. Be afraid of not choosing what stays. Goodbye, David. The screen went dark. He didn't cry. Not this time. 5:45 p.m. Rural roadside, California. The boy walked with his foster parent, still holding his notebook. Inside, drawings, maps, names. At the back, a single sentence. We are made of memory, but we are not owned by it. He stopped walking, looked at the sky. For a moment, he whispered a name he didn't know he knew. Anna. Then he kept walking. Final frame. Subject 13. Program terminated. Echoes detected. Active. Further monitoring recommended.